was my grandfather was just kind of a quick little story about my family. He was the vineyard manager at Chateau Montelena from 70 to 87. So he
pretty much almost from the beginning. Yeah.
He was the beginning. He actually, Jim Barrett hired him to did a lot of replanting on the vineyard that was there because it was kind of left, when Alfred Tubbs sold it, and when Jim Barrett bought it in 1970, 1969, it wasn't a whole lot left to it. So he replanted it all, and in fact, the Chardonnay that he sourced for the 73 tasting, I have one bottle.
One bottle left,
and it says Napa / Alexander Valley. So half of it was from Napa, from their estate. Yeah. The other half they got from the Hudal vineyard out in Anderson Valley, which a lot of people don't know. So it was before all the AVAs were established, because that was '84 when they started establishing them. So it just said Napa / Alexander Valley.
Yeah, because I remember selling that wine way early on in the game, and also the cab later on when I was just getting into retail. And I remember visiting Montelena when they were just finishing up the little pagoda and stuff.
Yes.
I think we were one of the first people even to use it.
Out there in the little
early '70s, whatever that was.
Yeah, you can go out there and have a picnic, and it's a beautiful little spot.
Yeah, I have fond memories of Montelena from way back.
Great spot. Yeah. So I spent most of my summers there as a kid, driving tractor with him, and of course, at the time in Calistoga, in the middle of summer, it was 100 degrees. I hated it, but every time we went up to the winery, it was nice and cool in there. I was like, "Ooh, this could be
all right." Yeah.
So I went to UC Davis and got my degree, and then went back to work at Chateau Montelena. Left in 1997 and went to work for the Coppolas, and was at Rubicon's and from 97
forward
until now. Right. I'm in charge of the property in Gainesville. So they bought the old Souverain in 2006. Yeah. So this will be my 13th harvest with them. So I had a great opportunity to make Rubicon, and to it's been a phenomenal.
Yeah.
Run. 2003, I kind of got the ideas.
Why not me?
I was like, why not? I want to start my own label. So I actually registered. I bonded my mom and dad's garage in Calistoga so I could get my Type 2 license, and it was the last one to do because everyone was kind of starting to do it.
Garage movement was starting. Yeah.
That's right. So I actually bonded it there. I make the wine at Jim Summers, a little place in Calistoga. I started with the Petite Sirah in 2004 was the first vintage. My grandfather it was one of my favorite varietals growing up, just to hearing him talk about it, because he always said that the trick to making great Zinfandel was having Petite.
Absolutely, it was all field blended.
Absolutely.
It was in there anyway. Yeah.
That's exactly it. You'd have Charbonneau out there, and Petite, and Carignan, Mourvedre, exactly. So Petite was always something I loved, and I started working with the vineyard that's owned by Joe Montelena. In fact, Joe Montelena bought the property that I grew up on out in Knights Valley, 400 acres. He has the cutting horses and whatnot. So he bought that, and then down below on the other side, in Napa, he bought his mom and dad a place that had an old Petite Sirah vineyard. So in 2002, I met them because Jim Summers was buying the grapes for the Petite. Mm-hmm. Jim didn't want to make a Petite any longer, so I went over. Vineyard. So in 2002, I met them because Jim Summers was buying the grapes for the Petite. Mm-hmm. Jim didn't want to make a Petite any longer, so I went over to see Joe and said, "Hey, I'd love to buy your Petite and make it it's 1 acre.
Yeah.
It's 25.
It's 1 acre only.
1 acre. Head trained, 26-year-old vines, and that's it. It sits right behind his house. In fact, Joe Joe Sr. does a lot of the farming himself, and he just loves it. And he goes out there, and I kind of show him, he doesn't really like dropping crop. Yeah. You pay him by the ton, but he gets it. So we buy the 1 acre. That's it. It's 4 tons roughly is what we get. So 250-ish cases any given year, and that's all I have to work with. The third vintage third vintage of our Petite Sirah. Talked a little bit about just kind of being organic and not certified, but moving that direction. We get the entire little vineyard, and I'm very, very happy with it. So I don't have anything to blend with it. So it's 100% Petite.
So 100% from the vineyard. And what about in terms of the treatment, in terms of how you harvest and what your cellar regimen is?
Yeah, so we bring it in. I do it in open top fermenters. Actually, the gym has 2 1.5 ton open top fermenters. So I do it there. Petite can get really tannic. I mean, it'll be very, very aggressive. So I usually drain this off around 6 bricks. So I get everything that I need around 6 bricks, and I'll let it finish fermenting in barrels.
In barrel.
Yeah. So I'll put it in barrels, and then once it's done, I'll rack it, put it back for ML. Usually then by Christmas, it's all wrapped up. We do about 40% new French oak. So I mean, I think you can smell this too.
Yeah.
Oak is not a big, I think oak is good to complement the wines. It's easy to overpower wines with a lot of oak.
Yeah.
And so if the fruit is good, there's no reason to do that. So we're around 40%-ish.
Yeah, that's enough to absorb the tannins that are inherent in the wine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Without dominating the fruit.
Without being too aggressive. Because, like with Petite, like I was saying, being, a tannic varietal, having too much of the new barrel, you actually get, like you were saying, wood tannin starts to become a problem.
It becomes much more aggressive.
Exactly. So yeah, and we just, it was nice, we just, in Wine Spectator, gave it a 92 Eva's vintage, so we sent it out, which is good for Petite. It was the second out of 50.
Yeah, for Petite, and what you don't think of as a uptown kind of varietal, that's a great score.
I'll take it. So it was good. I mean, we were number 2 out of 50. Bialy got a 94. They make a good Petite. If you had their,
well, my memory of Petite is the old Stag's Leap winery that used to do the ones from the early 70s, and then before that the Concannons from Livermore back in the 60s.
They did. Yeah, they had Petite.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
And they would age you could each sell them for 10 or 15 years with no trouble.
Yeah. That is one, that's a very good point here, is that Petites will cellar forever.
Yeah.
I mean, because the color, you start off with a lot of color and a lot of tannin, and they hold up really,
yeah,
really
and
well.
they seem to, they mellow out into an interesting, complex wine that you would never imagine tasting it early on that it would end up this way.
Right.
And but they hold up remarkably well.
Yeah.
And it's fun to throw those into old tastings because nobody knows what it is.
Yeah.
It's varietally unspecific, and yet it's interesting and complex in a way that's very satisfying.
Yeah, and it's you're absolutely right. We're very happy with it. So yeah, it's just
I mean, there's real succulence to this, which is again you don't always see that
with Petite, because Petite can be very aggressive.
And Foursquare and
absolutely, yeah.
But this has a nice liveliness to it, and
you know who else makes some good Petites? Switchback.
Switchback, yeah.
They do a really good job. I've been very happy with tasting theirs. I went to school with Kelly, who runs that, and I love their Petite, and also Madrigal. Madrigal is another kind of Calistoga. It seems like Calistoga does a good job with Petite Sirah.
Yeah, no, this is as elegant a Petite Sirah as you're going to see, and yet there's weight and intensity, but it's not overpowered, and everything's in moderation and proportion.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We and the 06 was a good vintage too. I think that looking at the vintages that we've had for the last few years. I mean, 05 was really good. 06 was good. 07 is good. 08 we touched on.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some areas that are going to be a little
more
difficult.
problematic.
Yeah, no question. And then keep knocking on wood for.
09 is looking good.
It is looking good. Yeah.
No, I mean other than we. Okay.
Good. Well, thank you. That was.
Really
happy with
exciting
the
wine.
and then.